Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Katarina and I'm the person behind by Katarina Designs, and today we have another tutorial. Imagine the satisfaction to be able to fix our crochet projects. For example, if we have a narrow neckline on a top-down sweater to make it wider, or even to cut a dress into a two-piece set. In this video, we will cover all the steps. First, we will start with a small swatch, and then we will actually cut the neckline of a crocheted top-down top that I made. A long time ago, I did a tutorial sharing how to remake the foundation chain for a crochet project. It's basically cutting the crochet fabric that you already did, which can be pretty scary. And this is mostly used to fix stuff. So for example, I will give you a few examples, and trust me, I was using them especially for making shorter. I use this technique a lot. So first of all, if you want to for a bottom up sweater, for example, and you don't like the length, you want to make it shorter, then you can use this technique. Again, for bottom up sleeves for a sweater, if you work a sweater, a crocheted sweater, and maybe stretched in time, it can happen, and now the sleeves are pretty long, or maybe you did the mistake and you worked them already too long and you don't want to undo the seaming and everything. You can use this technique. For a blanket, for example, if you have an error at some point at the beginning of the blanket, you already worked a lot more rounds and rows and you don't want to unravel everything, then you can use this technique to fix this. Then I don't know, for a top-down sweater or a top-down t-shirt, if you realize that the neckline is too tight, for example, or narrower, you can use this technique and to remove a few rounds just to make the neckline wider, or I don't know, multiple stuff. Anyways, I said that I did this tutorial long time ago, and I wanted to remake this tutorial because it's a pretty good tip, and I wanted to remake the video, trying to make it clear and to make it better. So I hope you like this tutorial. I hope you will use this technique. It will be a game changer. Because I had a lot of questions and I want to make them clear starting from now. With crochet, it's difficult to make the sticking vertically like it can be done in knitting. It can be done, but you need to reinforce the stitches, and you need to have some spare stitches that will be cut in the middle. But this is a more complicated technique and I'm not sure, I never used it, and yeah, so this particular technique is working only for horizontal, not for vertical crochet. So yeah, let me show you how you can do it. So I do recommend to try first with a small swatch, and then try this technique on a bigger project. This will give you more confidence that this is actually working. So now we will decide where do I need to start, or where do I need to cut, or what is the piece that I need to remove from this swatch. And then I will need a yarn and a needle, because we will use this to mark that row that we want to keep. So looking from the bottom up, the bottom is the starting of the swatch. So the first row is at the bottom, and we will cut the rows below. So the rows to the bottom. And now with the yarn inserted through the needle, we will go with the needle through the stitches of that row that we want to keep. So that will become our this will become our first row in our project. And you need to be careful to insert the hook through those bottom loops of the double crochet. This technique will work with any stitch pattern as long as you insert the hook through the bottom of the stitches and is in the middle of the stitch. So you will need to have in the front those two loops in form of a V, and on the back it will be the same. So you need to have the needle, the strand of yarn through the middle of that stitch. And we will go to the end of the row. Now at the end I have this chain stitch, and you don't have to skip that one. And now I have this strand of yarn through the stitches at the row that I want to be my first row into my project. And now we will cut the stitches right below. Yes, so this will be, I will cut through the middle of that row. And this is how I remove 3 rows from my project. But of course that it can be more, it can be less, depending on how much you need to shorten or that specific project. And now I remove the stitches, the rows that I don't need. And we will need to remove those remaining yarns that we have. This will be a tedious process. Basically all those yarn are passing through the stitches that we already put the yarn through. So our stitches will remain secure. So don't worry, this won't unravel. Okay, so now we have a nice and clean piece. This strand at the end, make sure that you secure it with a knot. I prefer to make a knot with the strand that I use to get through the stitches. And then we have this piece over here, and now we can start, for example, if we shorten a sweater, we can start to work. First I will do a single crochet row, and then from that single crochet row we can do any pattern that we want. Maybe we want to add a ribbing, maybe we want to add some extra rows. If you want to add some extra rows in double crochet, I will go right with it, so not with single crochet. And we will work the single crochet in between the stitches, right under that strand of yarn that we inserted through the stitches. So just under the yarn and in between the stitches. I'm using a different color yarn here for you to make it easier to see. But of course that if you want, you can use the same color as your project, because we want this thing that we did not to be that visible. And we will continue with single crochet stitches to the end of the row. Of course, if you want a different pattern, you can do it. I am thinking that in the case of shortening a sweater, maybe you want to add ribbing on the bottom hem, and you can use this single crochet row as foundation. Now, what is important to do is to count the stitches and make sure that you have the same number of single crochet as the number of stitches that we had on that previous row. We want to make sure that we are not skipping any stitch. If it's about the fixing stuff, I don't think that one stitch will be really important, but anyways, it's just preferably to have the same number of stitches. And at the end over here, I will go with the hook under the yarn and also through the loops of that last stitch. I feel like this is more secure. And done. And this is how we shorten our piece, and now we can continue and work, maybe, as I said, a ribbing or another stitch pattern that we want to add for our edging. Let's just say that I want to start working a front post, back post, ribbing. I will start with a double crochet row, and then I can start working with my ribbing pattern. Okay, so I work one more row in double crochet, and this is how the swatch is looking right now. I think it's perfect. It can be easily used this technique to shorten a sweater or a sleeve or anything that you need. And now let's try to use the same technique on our main project, and it's a top-down t-shirt. By the way, I don't have any pattern for this. It was just one of the projects that I didn't have time, or I didn't want to write a pattern for it. And for this, the neckline, the foundation chain, is a bit too narrow, and I want to remove only one row. But of course, depending on your project and what you will need, you may remove as many rows as you need, depending on how wide you would like your neckline to be. And we will proceed the same with the needle and the yarn through the needle. Of course, we will get with the needle through the bottom of the stitches, on the round that we want to keep as our first round. Yes, this is really important. You need to make sure that you're keeping the right round. And we will go around this time with this yarn. This will take a while until I will finish the entire circumference of this neckline. And now that I'm done, I can make a knot, because now my strands of yarn are meeting at this point, because we are working in the round, and I can secure them and make a knot. Now these strands, of course, we can put them on the back to hide them in. If you prefer, you can make a knot as well. And make sure that you're not pulling too tight this strand of yarn, because we don't want the stitches to be too tight. And now we will cut. And again, we are cutting the row above this marked row. Let's say it like this. In this particular case, I just wanted to remove a single round, but if you need to remove more, then you will cut more. The thing is that you will cut through the middle of the stitches that are on the round just above the marked round, and we will cut all around. And after we finish cutting, we will remove those floats over there, the yarns from the cutted round. Don't worry, this remaining yarns will be pulled out really easily, so you don't need to pay too much attention or something like that. They will get out pretty easy. Okay, and now that we have a clean edge, we can start and do our rounds depending on what we want to do with our neckline. I will do a single crochet round, the same as I did for the swatch, but of course that you can go for different stitch pattern if you would like so. So I will pick up my yarn. I will do the single crochet round in the yellow shade, not into the pink. Not because I didn't want it to, but I cannot find where the pink yarn is. And I'm sure that I had some left over. But yeah, this is it. This is what we have now. And I will rejoin the yarn, and the same way as we did for the swatch, we will go in between the stitches and under the strand of yarn that we inserted through the stitches, like this. And I will single crochet all around. And this will be the only thing that I will be doing it, but of course that, for example, now after this single crochet round, and I could cut more rows, maybe 3 of them, and then I could add the same ribbing as I have on the bottom hem and on the sleeves. It's something that I was thinking of right after cutting that row, that I could have done that, but now it's a bit too late. But anyways, this is how the t-shirt is looking right now. The purpose is achieved, so I did want it the neckline to be a bit wider because it was too tight. So I achieved that, and I am happy that now this t-shirt fits better around my neck. So this is what I wanted to achieve. Now this ends over here, of course, that I need to be they need to be widen, and this is how it's looking right now, and I'm happy with it. So I hope you like this tutorial. I hope you'll find it useful. I don't want you to do some mistakes in your crochet project ever, because I know that can be frustrating, but in case if something happens, just for you to know that this technique can work. fix those mistakes. And you can try it out with a swatch, with a small swatch first, to make sure that you are confident with the technique, and then try it on your bigger project. So there are on my channel 2 more tutorials with the same, or one single, or I made it two, I don't know, with the granny stitch and with a V-stitch, which I thought that these stitches are popular, and maybe you have a project into this stitch and it's not really clear for you how to use this technique and apply it to those stitch patterns. So I hope those two, you'll find them useful as well. And yeah, I hope it was a great tutorial for you. So thank you so much for being here with me for another crochet tutorial, and see you next time. Bye!